Guys, today I present you another Stargate caught by another camera in Torre Mozza Ugento in Italy. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking that I'm crazy, but it turns out I'm not, and I will show you this. Now, this is a clip from NASA, yeah? Where they are saying there are magnetic portals around Earth.
At NASA. A favorite theme of science fiction is the portal, an extraordinary opening in space or time that connects travelers to distant realms. A good portal is a shortcut, a guide, a door into the unknown, if only they actually existed. It turns out that they do, sort of, and a NASA-funded researcher at the University of Iowa has figured out how to find them. We call them X-points, or electron diffusion regions, explains plasma physicist Jack Scudder of the University of Iowa. They're places where the magnetic field of Earth connects to the magnetic field of the Sun, creating an uninterrupted path leading from our own planet to the Sun's atmosphere 93 million miles away. Observations by NASA's Themis spacecraft and Europe's cluster probes suggest that these magnetic portals open and close dozens of times each day. They're typically located a few tens of thousands of kilometers from Earth, where the geomagnetic field meets the onrushing solar wind. Most portals are small and short-lived. Others are yawning, vast, and sustained. Energetic particles can flow through the openings, heating Earth's upper atmosphere, sparking geomagnetic storms, and igniting bright polar auroras. NASA is planning a mission called MMS, short for Magnetospheric Multiscale Mission, due to launch in 2014 to study the phenomenon. Bristling with energetic particle detectors and magnetic sensors, the 4 spacecraft of MMS will spread out in Earth's magnetosphere and surround the portals to observe how they work. Just one problem: finding them. Magnetic portals are invisible, unstable, and elusive. They open and close without warning, and there are no signposts to guide us in, notes Scudder. Actually, there are signposts, and Scudder has found them. Portals form via the process of magnetic reconnection. Mingling lines of magnetic force from the Sun and Earth crisscross and join to create the openings. X-points are where the crisscross takes place. The sudden joining of magnetic fields can propel jets of charged particles from the X-point, creating an electron diffusion region. To learn how to pinpoint these events, Scudder looked at data from a space probe that orbited Earth more than 10 years ago. In the late 1990s, NASA's polar spacecraft spent years in Earth's magnetosphere, explains Scudder, and it encountered many X-points during its mission. Because Polar carried sensors similar to those of MMS, Scudder decided to see how an X-point looked to Polar. Using Polar data, we have found 5 simple combinations of magnetic field and energetic particle measurements that tell us when we've come across an X-point or an electron diffusion region. A single spacecraft, properly instrumented, can make these measurements. This means that a single member of the MMS constellation, using the diagnostics, can find a portal and alert other members of the constellation. Mission planners long thought that MMS might have to spend a year or so learning to find portals before it could study them. Scudder's work shortcuts the process, allowing MMS to get to work without delay. It's a shortcut worthy of the best portals of fiction, only this time the portals are real. And with the new signposts, we know how to find them. For a portal to more NASA science news, visit science.nasa.gov.
Now you know, yeah? that the portals do exist. Now, we have a problem here, yeah? If the portals exist, and I believe they exist because in its prayer in my country that says God who made the things that we are able to see and the things that we are not able to see. The creator of all of this, yeah? So basically, what you need to understand is the parallel universes are real. Now, this is Geordie Rose. I told you about him. Now, I will stop during his presentation. He's talking about the D-Waves computers, yeah? Let's listen and we will comment, yeah?
This is a particularly poetic way of framing the difference between the machines we build and conventional computers. This is what they look like. There are two of them. These are from our lab in Burnaby in British Columbia. From the outside, they look like giant black monoliths, big metal boxes, about
Okay. Now, I don't know if you are familiar with the black cube. Yeah. The black cube that is visible on Saturn and all of these occult practices around the world about this black cube, yeah? Try to find it on YouTube and watch it. Okay, let's go further.
10 feet on a side, 12 feet tall. And they are powered, they have a fridge inside them, a refrigerator that cools these chips to almost absolute zero. Just a wisp, a fraction of a degree above absolute zero. Hundreds of times colder than interstellar space. Amongst the coldest and most isolated and extreme conditions that humans have ever been able to engineer. These fridges, interestingly enough, which are called pulse tube dilution refrigerators, have a thing called a pulse tube, which emits a sound roughly once per second, which sounds eerily like a heartbeat. So if you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines. It is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines. It is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines.
Okay. Now just notice that he's not talking about our God, yeah? The only true God, the Creator, and His Son, Jesus Christ, yeah? He's talking about an alien God. Now, this might make you think about these motherfuckers, as I told you, that they are Satanists. Okay, let's go further.
At the heart of this big box is a tiny chip about the size of your thumbnail. And on this chip resides all of the wonder and magic that makes this thing go. I'm not going to describe in any mathematical detail how it all works, but let me give you an analogy. In quantum mechanics, there's this concept that a thing can exist in two states which are mutually exclusive at the same time, quote unquote. And I'm using those words because the English language was developed before we had concepts to describe what these things actually are doing. But I'm going to give you a roundabout way of understanding this. Imagine that there really are parallel universes out there, and now imagine you have two that are exactly identical in every respect, all the way out to the horizon as far as we can see, down to the last little atomic detail of every single thing, with only one difference. And that's the value of a little thing called a qubit on this chip, which is a contraction of quantum bit. And that qubit is very much like a bit or a transistor in a conventional computer. It has two distinct physical states, which we call 0 and 1 for bit. In a conventional computer, these are mutually exclusive. That device is either one or the other and never anything else. In a quantum computer, that device can be in this strange situation where these two parallel universes have a nexus, a point in space where they overlap. And when you increase the number of these devices, every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to. Until such time when you get to a chip like this, every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to. And every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to. Until
Okay, so I believe they opened already Stargates to other dimensions. Now, try to watch the clip that I put on. It was in February, I believe, and it was an apparition from Mexico in the right side of the sun, and I believe it was a portal as well. Yeah, so that was in February, and now we have that from Popeye Village, Malta, and now we have this that I will show you the end from Torre Mozza Argento. Now, in the Bible, there is a saying, he will open a door and he will not know how to close it. This is what they are doing.
Till such time when you get to a chip like this, which is about 500 of these bits, you have something like 2 to the 500th power of these guys living in that chip. So the way I think about it is that the shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours. And if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world. Now, this overlap with ours. And if we're smart enough, shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours. And if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world. Now, this may shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours. And if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world. Now, this may sound very odd to you and bizarre, and in fact, I am using language that a normal theoretical physicist probably wouldn't use, but this is, what I'm telling you is absolutely correct and in line with the way that these things actually work.
Okay, so you heard this guy, yeah? Now let's hear another guy. This guy is a physicist, so it should be more convincing, yeah?
It's 25 meters long, it weighs 12,000 tons, it contains enough iron to make 2 Eiffel Towers. Essentially what this thing is an incredibly sophisticated, gigantic 3D digital camera. So what happens is the particles, the protons come in through this beam pipe and in one from the other direction. This thing is barrel shaped, so you imagine it goes off the edge of the image. They collide in the center, you get a whole load of stuff going everywhere, and this detector records those collisions in real time, actually 40 million times every second. This is another one of these. There's 4 of these things. This is the biggest of all. This is Atlas, which is kind of is a good, cool-sounding name. It's a bit of a tortured acronym, so I won't try and tell you what it actually stands for. But essentially, Atlas is even bigger than CMS. This thing is 25 meters high, 40 meters long. It's absolutely huge. If you ever get a chance to go to CERN and get down underground to see these things, which I think is quite difficult, sadly, these days, because it's quite busy there. I mean, when I saw them a few years ago, they really are the most amazing things you'll ever see. It's absolutely unbelievable. So Atlas does essentially a very similar job to CMS. They're 2 different experiments, but they work on similar principles, but have completely independent teams and independent technologies, and they're really there to cross-check each other's results. So this is a representative image of what happens when 2 particles collide. Well, it's actually a real image. So this is what is called the datum, I think. So it says 2011, June 25th at 6:30 in the morning. This is 2 protons meeting. What happens, the reason we're doing these collision experiments is, what we're actually doing is making matter. So you quite often hear particle accelerators or colliders described as atom smashers. And that sort of suggests that what we're doing is breaking atoms apart in order to see what's inside them. But that's not really what we're interested in. People have known what's inside atoms for quite a long time now. What particle colliders actually are ways of making matter that doesn't normally exist in the universe. So really what we're interested in. People have known what's inside atoms for quite a long time now. What particle colliders actually are ways of making matter that doesn't normally exist in the universe. Breaking atoms apart in order to see what's inside them. But that's not really what we're interested in. People have known what's inside atoms for quite a long time now. What particle colliders actually are ways of making matter that doesn't normally exist in the universe.
So I've told you guys, I don't know if the physicists that they work at CERN, all of them, they know about the elite intention. I believe they are aware, I don't know, maybe not all of them, but most of them. But you've got to admit, these guys, first of all, I believe they don't understand with what they are dealing with. Now, if you think a little bit that quote from the Bible, yeah, saying that he will open a door and he will not know how to close it. Now, these guys are trying to open the portals to the other dimensions, yeah? But when you hear that he will not know how to close it, you can imagine what they're gonna see. I mean, I'm sure the elite knows that they're gonna bring the devils, yeah? The devil, the Satan army, yeah? This is their intention. Is no point of discussion here, yeah? I'm sure of this. But these guys that they're actually doing the job, yeah? I mean the physicists, the engineers, the technicians, these guys, you can imagine what they're gonna see if they will want to close that portal. Just think about it, guys. Why is this? Why is this in the Bible? He will open a door and he will not know how to close it. Why he will want to close it? Because he will be terrified of what is coming into our reality. Do you understand this? He will realize the danger. Now, this is the clip from my channel, yeah? And I've told you, I believe here, this is the reflection on the water, yeah? I believe here, what this camera, this webcam from Papai Village, Malta, caught, it's a Stargate. And I will show you okay, you have the clip, you can watch it on my channel, all of it. Let's go to the main point. The main point is this. This is the webcam that I've told you about. Torre Mozza Ugento. Now, I believe here we are seeing the same thing. This is the time lapse from yesterday, yeah? From the 20. Do you see it? Just right here. This is exactly what we have seen on that webcam from Malta. Now, I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't know if these are random stargates or they succeed to open these portals to the parallel universes. Because now the what that webcam of Malta caught, it was 3 days ago, yeah, on 17. Now this is from 20. Now I don't know what to tell you, but I believe they succeed to create these portals, yeah. Now if you go on that NASA Science clip, what they are saying about the portals, if you remember, they said they're very unstable and they can open and close at any time, yeah. So this is really scary, my friends. Now this can explain that those loud booms that they are heard, they've been heard all around the world. Who knows? But you've got to admit, to have two apparitions like this in a period of 3 days, my friends, it's quite strange. Strange, and if I'm right, and these are Stargates, my friends, the 3 days of darkness that God told to Padre Pio to tell us, it means those 3 days of darkness are very close. Okay guys, God bless you.